These are the deadliest volcanoes to ever hit the United States. We'll begin with the less destructive eruptions and work our way up toward volcanoes so dangerous they literally changed the country overnight. Mount Hood, Oregon. Mount Hood doesn't look dangerous at first. It's snow-covered, quiet, and often seen as a scenic landmark. But beneath that calm appearance is a long history of deadly destruction. Hundreds of years ago, Mount Hood produced massive volcanic mudflows known as lahars. These weren't slow-moving floods. They were walls of rock, ash, ice, and water that rushed down river valleys, wiping out everything in their path. Evidence shows Native American settlements were destroyed by these flows, killing entire communities with little warning. The danger didn't come from lava or explosions, but from sudden collapses of ice and debris triggered by volcanic activity. Even today, Mount Hood is considered one of Oregon's most dangerous volcanoes. A future lahar could reach populated areas in under an hour. The death toll here is lower than what's coming next, but this is where the list begins. Lassen Peak, California. In 1915, Lassen Peak erupted with the most powerful volcanic explosion the continental U.S. had ever seen in a century. At first, the activity seemed manageable. Small eruptions, minor ash clouds, nothing people hadn't seen before. But that changed quickly. A massive explosion sent ash more than 30,000 feet into the air. Pyroclastic flows raced down the mountainside, burning forests and melting snow, which triggered violent mudflows. Entire areas were buried under ash and debris. While the region was sparsely populated, several people were killed, and nearby towns were forced to evacuate as darkness covered the sky in the middle of the day. The eruption reshaped the landscape permanently and proved that major volcanic disasters weren't just ancient history in the U.S. And compared to what's coming next, Lassen was only a warning. Mount Baker, Washington. Mount Baker is one of those volcanoes most people don't think about. It sits quietly in northern Washington, covered in snow and ice, and for long stretches of time, nothing seems to happen. But that silence is misleading. In the 1800s, Mount Baker showed repeated signs of activity. Steam explosions, falling debris, and sudden ice collapses caused deadly avalanches and flooding in nearby valleys. People living and working near the mountain were caught off guard, especially miners and loggers who had little warning. The real danger with Mount Baker isn't lava, it's the massive amount of ice sitting on top of it. When heat rises from below, the ice melts fast, sending violent floods and mud down rivers that lead straight into populated areas. Even today, officials consider Mount Baker a serious threat. A sudden collapse could give nearby towns very little time to escape. This volcano didn't kill on a massive scale, but it showed how quiet mountains can still turn deadly. Mount St. Helens, Washington. Before 1980, Mount St. Helens didn't look like a threat. It was known as a peaceful, beautiful mountain, and people camped and worked nearby without much concern. That changed on the morning of May 18th. The mountain suddenly exploded sideways, blasting hot gas, rock, and debris across the landscape at hundreds of miles per hour. Trees were flattened like matchsticks. Entire hillsides were stripped bare in seconds. 57 people were killed, including scientists and photographers who thought they were far enough away. Ash fell across several states, shutting down airports, collapsing roofs, and turning daytime into darkness. Nearby towns were buried, and rivers were clogged with debris. Mount St. Helens became the deadliest volcanic eruption in modern U.S. history, and from this point on, the volcanoes on this list only become more dangerous. Mount Rainier, Washington. Mount Rainier might look peaceful, sitting tall with snow on top, but it's one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the U.S. The real threat isn't lava or big explosions. It's the huge rivers of mud and rock that can rush down the valleys when the mountain heats up or erupts slightly. These rivers, called lahars, can move faster than cars and reach towns far from the mountain in minutes. In the past, smaller eruptions and melting snow caused these fast-moving mudflows, destroying bridges, roads, and farms. People living nearby had little time to get out, and even today, thousands of people live in the area that could be hit if the volcano wakes up. Mount Rainier hasn't killed many people recently, but scientists warn that if a big event happens, it could be one of the deadliest volcanoes in the country, simply because so many towns sit at its base. Kilauea, Hawaii. Kilauea is famous for staying active for years, sometimes decades at a time. It slowly pours lava that can cover roads, houses, and farms. In 2018, it erupted suddenly and kept moving quickly. Entire neighborhoods were forced to evacuate, and hundreds of homes were destroyed. Streets and utilities were buried, and people lost everything in just a few days. It also releases dangerous gases that make it hard to breathe, and the lava moves faster than most people think. While the death toll isn't huge, the destruction is intense, and it shows how a volcano can quietly ruin lives without anyone expecting it. Kilauea isn't just dangerous because of explosions. It's dangerous because it moves slowly but leaves no chance to rebuild in its path. Mauna Loa, Hawaii. Mauna Loa is the biggest volcano on Earth. It's massive, stretching across half of the Big Island, and it looks calm from a distance. But underneath that calm is a volcano that can erupt without much warning. Its eruptions are mostly lava flows, but they can move fast enough to cut off towns in a matter of hours. Roads, homes, and farms can be buried before people know what's coming. In 1984, lava from Mauna Loa moved towards Hilo, one of Hawaii's largest towns, forcing thousands to evacuate. Luckily, it slowed down just enough to avoid disaster, but the threat was very real. Mauna Loa also creates massive earthquakes before eruptions. These shakes can collapse buildings, landslides can wipe out roads, and volcanic gases make the air unsafe to breathe. Scientists constantly watch it, but even with modern tools, predicting exactly when it will erupt is almost impossible. The scary part is Mauna Loa has erupted 33 times in the last 2,000 years, and its next eruption could trap people and destroy towns in hours. It shows how even a volcano that seems calm can turn deadly almost instantly. Nova Rupta, Alaska. In June 1912, Nova Rupta erupted in Alaska, and it quickly became the largest volcanic eruption of the 20th century anywhere in the world. For over 60 hours, the volcano spewed fire, smoke, and heat into the sky. This eruption didn't just stay local. It sent clouds of hot gas and rock dozens of miles away, covering nearby villages and forcing everyone to flee. Rivers of mud and rock poured down, burying camps and forests. Some people survived only by running fast or hiding behind trees. The sky turned dark for days, even hundreds of miles away. Animals fled the area, and the smell of smoke lingered for weeks. Entire valleys were covered in thick layers of material from the eruption, making travel impossible for months. Nova Rupta killed fewer people than some other volcanoes, but the scale of destruction was terrifying. It reshaped the land for decades and proved that a volcano doesn't need a massive town nearby to become one of the deadliest forces in nature. Mount Vesuvius. Mount Vesuvius is in Italy, but let's imagine its scale in the US. The comparison fits for volcanoes like Yellowstone or other supervolcanoes. If one of these erupted, the effects could be catastrophic. A super eruption wouldn't just cover the mountain, it could destroy everything within hundreds of miles. Imagine cities buried under layers of hot rock and ash, highways gone, airports unusable, and rivers clogged with mud. The heat and gases released could make breathing impossible for anyone nearby. Millions of people would be forced to leave their homes immediately. But there wouldn't be enough time or warning systems for everyone to escape safely. The scary truth is supervolcano eruptions don't happen every day, but when they do, they reshape the planet. They block out sunlight, cause crops to fail, and can make winters extremely cold worldwide. Even today, scientists study Yellowstone and other US supervolcanoes constantly, because if one erupts, it could change life across the country in a single event. Yellowstone Supervolcano, Wyoming. Yellowstone is quiet now, but it's one of the deadliest volcanoes the US could ever see. Beneath the surface lies a massive chamber of molten rock that, if it erupted, would release enough energy to bury states under hundreds of feet of hot material. Before it erupts, there are warnings, earthquakes, ground swelling, and steam explosions. But those signals might come only days or weeks before disaster, leaving millions with almost no time to leave. An eruption would cover most of Wyoming and parts of surrounding states with volcanic material. Air would fill with dust and gases, making traveling, breathing, and farming impossible for years. Even people thousands of miles away would feel the effects: sunlight blocked, temperatures dropping, and crops failing. Yellowstone isn't just dangerous because of its size. It's dangerous because its impact is immediate, overwhelming, and worldwide. One eruption could destroy entire cities and change life across the U.S. overnight, making it the ultimate volcano on this list. If you like this list, I have another video with the deadliest wildfires to ever hit the U.S. Click here to watch it, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.